Welcome to the Wargaming Garage and part 3 of the Black Watch. So as we return to this third part of the narrative campaign for the Black Watch, the sisters take on the Genestealer Cult as they look to suppress an uprising from them, as the Genestealer Cult try and take on this industrial sector and try and bring ruin to it and disrupt any kind of imperial supply chain. It's a mission taken from the Tyrannic War Crusade book, and it's called Insurgency. And we'll look at that shortly. But in the meantime, let's go and have a look at the armies and do battle over this sector today. So here we have just under 1,000 points of Sisters of Battle, and we're running the Army of Faith detachment today, so they get to use 2 miracle dice per phase per unit, so pretty spicy. And they're led today by Genestealer Mireth. She's got an enhancement, which is the Litanies of Faith. So essentially you take a leadership test or battle shot test, and if you pass it, you get a miracle dice. She's got the Rod of Office today, and a power weapon and a plasma pistol. And she'll be hopefully, will be leading a squad of Sacrosancts. Backing her up today is an Imagifier, and she has the divine aspect, so when she moves, ends a movement within 12 inches of an enemy, they have to take a battle shot test, and if they fail it, you gain another miracle dice. So there's a couple of ways to hopefully gain miracle dice with this army, because I get the feeling that we may be spending them pretty quickly. In the old elite slots, as they were, is a squad of Sacrosancts. There's actually 2 squads of Sacrosancts, and they've all got the same loadout, which is a Spear of the Faithful on the superior and halberds for the sisters themselves. In the old heavy support slots, we have a squad of Retributors. These are all flamers, heavy flamers, and we have an additional squad over here, and this squad is all melters. They'll be riding in an Immolator, which is multi-melters and heavy bolters with a hunter killer missile, and respectively another Immolator with, you guessed it, heavy flamers, hunter killer missile and heavy bolters. And then doing a lot of the legwork is 2 squads of Battle Sisters. The squad on the left has an Artificer, Stormbolter and a Melter Gun with a Simulacrum, however you say it. And then the squad on the right has a Flamer, a Stormbolter and a Simulacrum as well. So that is 1,000 points, or just under 1,000 points, like I say, of Sisters of Battle. They've come to purge the Xenos. They will not take any backward step, and they will be successful on this day as we go and have a look at the Genestealer Cult and see what the uprising brings to this Imperial world. And here we have just under 1,000 points of Genestealer Cult, and it's the host of Ascension, and the uprising is being led by a Primus. There's no enhancements on this Primus today. There wasn't enough points in it, but he's got a bone sword, a twin injector claw, and a scoped needle pistol, and he will be attached and leading a squad of these neophytes, just buried in amongst there and leading the uprising. In support, we have a squad of aberrants, and they're led by an abominant, which gives them a few boosts now. Essentially, they have a 5-up feel no pain. It's gone up, I think it used to be a 4-up feel no pain, and as they're being led, if the strength of the weapon attacking them is greater than their toughness, then they subtract 1 from the wound roll, so hopefully can be around for quite a while. In addition, we have a squad of Atalan Jackals and a Jackal Alphas, so he's going to grant them a priority target, so basically they can reroll hit rolls of 1. And then as a master outrider, if it's not within engagement range, then essentially you can make another normal move once they've shot and done things, so hopefully they can, almost like a fire and fade like the Eldar. We've then got 2 squads of Acolyte hybrids, and they both have got flamers, and they've got 2 heavy mining tools, an icon, and then essentially they've got demolition charges. So what that allows the icon to do is bring back D3 units in the command phase, or D3 models, sorry, in the command phase. And then, but if they're on an objective, it's a flat 3, so that's pretty good. And there's 2 squads of those, and they're both riding in these rock grinders, and they've both got the incinerator, the flamers on them. And then we've got 2 squads of neophyte hybrids. So yeah, we're gonna, both sisters and the Genestealer Cult will receive new codexes, so we're going to see how they counteract each other as we go on to the mission and deployment. So we're playing Insurgency, and that is a mission in where the defender is trying to defuse objectives from explosives, and the attacker is trying to prime objectives with explosives. So at the end, essentially a unit that's eligible will carry out the action to either prime the objective or to defuse it. And at the end of the game, it's the number of primed or diffused objectives. So the attacker is the one doing the priming, and they get 20 victory points for each primed objective marker on the battlefield, and the defender will score 15 for every diffused or unprimed objective marker on the battlefield. So that is the mission. So we'll go on to deployment. So here we are after deployment, and for the Genestealer Cult, we've set up one of the rock grinders here with the squad of acolytes in it, another one over to the left-hand flank, then in the middle is the jackals. Everything else, the 2 squads of neophytes and the aberrants, are in deep strike. On the board there's 4 objectives. There's 2 here just outside the attacker's deployment zone, and there's 2 more just outside the defender's deployment zone, here and over here. Speaking of the defenders, we've got 1 squad of battle sisters inside the small ruined building, with the melter squad of retributors with the imagifier in this immolator. Then in the midboard, coming up the gut, so to speak, is the Genestealer Mireth with her squad of Sacrosanct bodyguards, another squad of sisters with the Melter and the Artificer Stormbolter. Then the Flamer squad of Retributors is on the left hand flank, alongside another squad of Sacrosancts. So that is how it's all laid out. The defenders in this mission automatically get first turn. So with that, we'll head on to Sisters, turn 1. At the end of the Sisters movement phase is where you join us. In the command phase, we rolled a dice for the miracle dice and got a 6. We rolled for the leadership of the Canoness and failed that, so didn't get an additional miracle dice. And we weren't in control of any objectives at the end of our command phase, so we didn't get to roll for the simulacrum or anything else like that. A slight addition as well for the Genestealer Cult. Things have changed obviously with the codex, and mining tools can only be taken with auto pistol units, and these are heavy hand flamer units, so I took those out and swapped them in for something else, but you'll see them as they disembark from the rock grinders anyway. A lot of advancing. The defenders are going first, which is the sisters. So basically every squad advanced to get some board control early on. The Sacrosancts advanced onto that objective. The Immolator advanced onto that objective. This squad of sisters around here actually advanced this way to try and retain some element of deep strike denial, but we'll see. The Canoness and her Sacrosancts made their way up the board to the middle. The other Immolator with the Retributors on made its way forward, guarding this objective here. And then this squad of sisters moved on to the objective there with an advance as well. So that's it really across the board. That'll be it for turn 1 because there's no shooting, nothing's in range. So that'll be it for Sisters turn 1 as we head on to Genestealer Cult turn 1. At the end of the Genestealer Cult movement phase, I rolled a miracle dice for the sisters. That's another 6, so yeah, not so bad so far. This rock grinder brought its way around here, just making its way up the board and hopefully try and put pressure on these sisters in later turns. The jackals came up the left hand flank with the rock grinder in support, and the rock grinder is going to do an action and try and prime that explosive, whilst the jackals try and take pot shots either at the sisters around there or into the Immolator itself. But the first thing the Immolator will do is fire Overwatch into the rock grinder and see if we can pop it. The sisters can use 2 miracle dice per phase, per unit, and that's what they're going to do. So we're going to use these 2 miracle dice here for the Overwatch hit rolls, and then we've got 2 wound rolls to make. But I spent 1 CP, taking me back down to 1, on Divine Guidance. So it basically minuses 1, adds another pip of AP to the wound roll. If the unit is then destroyed as a result of it, I get a miracle dice. So we'll spend these 2. They go back into my blessed pool here. And let's see if we can wound. It is strength 9, toughness 10, so 5s to wound. Nothing. Okay. 3 heavy bolter shots. No hits there. And I'm not going to fire the hunter killer. So, okay, 2 miracle dice spent. Lesson learnt. Worth a shot though, I think. And we'll carry on with the Genestealer Cult phase. So we're going to start with the quad firing the mining laser into the Immolator. So it's one shot hitting on 4s, which hits. Sadly, it's not lethal or anything, but it is 3s to wound. Strength 12, toughness less than. Yeah, let's spend a CP. Yep, that wounds. So it's -3, and it saves. Dice available if you get in touch. They don't always roll 6s, but you never know. Now the Alphas ideally would like to take a pot shot at the Cannoness, but can't actually see anything behind this terrain. So it's going to lay a shot into the sister squad. We did move, so it's hitting on 3s. And misses. Okay. That really wraps up the Genestealer Cult turn. Although what I'll do, the Alphas has an ability to sort of have his unit move, shoot, move. So I'll do that off camera and move them. We'll consider that one primed. And we'll head into the sisters, turn 2. So at the start of the turn, we've rolled a 1 this time for a miracle dice. Quite the extreme. Let's roll for the leadership of the Cannoness, which passes to another leader, another miracle dice, which is a 2. It couldn't be any different. Okay, and with that, we'll go on to the sisters movement phase. In addition, we have a unit of sisters with a simulacrum on the thing. So on a 4-up, I get an additional miracle dice, and I do, which becomes the number you've just rolled. So I get another 4. Very nice. At the end of the sisters movement phase, it might be something I come to regret, but I did disembark the Melter squad out of the Immolator in order to, hopefully with what's left, take out the Rock Grinder and then start to take control of this objective and hopefully flip it in another turn. But as it would be remiss of me not to do, as a Genestealer Cult player, I'm going to use Overwatch with the incendiary flamer against that squad. This Immolator stood still. This squad of sisters has come around. The Sacrosancts have moved forward, and then behind them in their wake, this squad of battle sisters advanced up to get onto the objective to hopefully get more miracle dice in later command phases, but we shall see. So with that, we will go on to fire Overwatch into this unit of sisters. As a sisters player, I'm hoping we'll roll low. It's 2d6 for 6. Okay. So strength 6 versus toughness 3, so 2s to wound. 5 wounds come through. So 5 wounds at -1. Why? Mistakes were definitely made there. I was hoping to actually weather the storm a little bit, maybe lose a couple, definitely, and then use them to pop that, and then try and get rid of the occupants. Never mind, these things happen. So we'll start with the Immolator into, what we'll do, we're going to split fire a little bit. We're going to do the heavy bolters into the Atalan Jackal squad, and then we're going to do everything else into the Rock Grinder. So heavy bolters, 2 hits, 3s to wound. Oh, 2 of them are marked for death, and it does go through. So that kills 2 of the jackals outright. So Hunter Killer Missile into the Rock Grinder, hits, and it wounds. So we need a 6 here, and that's what we get. Oof, it just deflects off the bulldoze, off the dozer blade. So now 2 melter shots, 1 hit, 1 misses. It's twin linked, doesn't wound. Okay, so come on, it's 1 surviving sister from the Retributor squad into the Rock Grinder, hitting on 1 of those. Let's go for a CP reroll. Nope. Okay. Right, now comes the wound. And it wounds. Okay. At this range, -4. There is no save. What damage can we do? It's melter 2. Come on. Oof. 8 damage. Would have been really useful. I mean, that was the plan. Would have been really useful if there was more of them. But there's not. So with that, we'll go on to the immolator, firing everything, flamer-wise, into the Atalan Jackals. So we'll start with the heavy bolters. 2 hits, 2 wounds, 2 saves. Okay, 2d6 number of shots for the heavy flamers for 9. Okay, so 3 to wound. Okay, so 6 at -1, ignoring cover. Oof. Okay, so that is another jackal, and takes a wound off the quad bike. And so there's little sense in charging anything right now. I don't think. So that should mark the end of the sister's turn. And let's see what the Genestealer Cult can do. And if any of the reserves come in, let's go on to Genestealer Cult, turn 2. And so out of the shadows, the neophyte hybrids emerge. The acolyte hybrids disembark from their transports around the left-hand flank, emerging from under the sky landing pad. The Primus emerges with his squad of neophytes, and around the rear come the aberrants, ready to take aim at the Canoness and her squad of sacrosants. So that's everything from the Genestealer Cult on the table, and let's go into the shooting phase. So we'll start with this squad of neophytes here. They're going to put everything into this squad of sacrosants. They're going to start with the demolition charges that 2 of them have got. So that's 2d6 for 9 shots. So it's hitting on 5s. That's not bad. So strength 9 and toughness 3, it's 2s to wound. So 6 wounds come through. So 6 wounds come through. It'll be, it's -2, so it'll be on the 4-up invulnerable save of the sacrosants, but each one failed is a dead one. Only you lose 1. In that squad there's 2 flamers, or 2 hand flamers for 4 shots. Strength 3, toughness 3, so 4s to wound. There's 2 wounds come through, no AP, so 2 up saves for the sisters, and they're fine. Well, if if that was just softening those sacrosancts up across the battlefield, the Jackal Alphas lines up a shot. He stayed still, so it's hitting on 3s and takes aim at the sacrosancts. And he hits. 3s to wound, and it wounds. -2 again on the 4-up invulnerable save, and it just shield wall bounces off the sacrosanct armour. So we might have to break out the heavy guns as a rock grinder puts everything into the sacrosancts in front of it. So we'll start with some tracer heavy stubber, hitting on 4s. Wounding on 3s. Ooh, okay. No AP, so 2-up save. And she's just fine. Do a demolition charge for 6 shots. Hitting on 5s this time. So 2 hits. Wounding on 2s. 2 wounds. And again, a 4-up invulnerable save. And kills another one. And now 2d6 shots from the clearance incinerator for 9 shots. 2s to wound. So 8 wounds come through at -1, so 3s. And they make them all. The shield wall holds firm. We've got through the miracle dice at the start of the Genestealer Cult's turn, so we'll just do that now for another 1. So far we have 2 1s, a 2 and a 4 in the pool. So coming around here, we're going to split fire with this squad of acolytes. We're going to do the demolition charge into the immolator and see if we can do something there. And then we'll do the hand flamers into these, see if we can do anything there at all. And then with what's left, we'll see what the rock grinder goes after. So 2d6 with the demolition charges. Bit less this time. 5 to hit. Oh, that's not bad though. Strength 9, so 5 to wound, I think. Let's check. Certainly not going to be any of those. So 1 wound comes through, -2. And 2 damage goes on to the immolator. So the 2 hand flamers into the main retributor in imagifier for 8 shots. Strength 3, toughness 3. So force to wound, that's a very good roll. So 7 3-up saves. Come on. Nope. So with 2 wounds left on the imagifier, the rock grinder is going to put everything it can into her, just out of range of, literally a hair's breadth out of range for demolition charges for against immolator or the imagifier. So the clearance incendiary device and the stubber will go into the imagifier. Let's see if she can weather the storm. Let's see if we roll low or high for the clearance incinerator. Yeah. So 2s to wound. So 5 wounds at -1. I don't think she's long for this world. Not with a roll like that. And with that, That clears the infantry in front of that objective, and let's see what we can do to tie up the immolator. So in terms of miracle dice, because they died to separate shots, I'm reading that as their separate units at that point. So if we roll 1 for the Retributor squad, we get a 4, and then 1 for the Image of Fire herself, we get a 5. So moving our way around here, the Primus and his bodyguard squad take aim at the squad of Battle Sisters. So we'll start with the Primus and his scoped needle pistol. So it hits on a 2+. Okay, it doesn't hit. So the hybrid firearms, they take aim and they get to re-roll the hit roll because they're being led by a Primus, but they're hitting on 4s. And the re-roll. Strength 3 versus toughness 3, so 4s to wound. So 8 wounds come through, it's no AP. So let's see how they get on. We lose 3 in the barrage. Because of rapid fire with the scientific cannon, 4 shots coming in with that. We get to re-roll the hit roll. So still 2 hits, 2s to wound, 2 wounds coming through, -1, but there was no real cover actually. Another one dies. And now the mining laser, re-roll, hits, definitely wounds, -3, nope. Okay, that's another one dies. So 5 gone so far from that squad. So this other squad of neophytes fired into the immolator to just try and see if we could plink anything, but as predicted, nothing doing there. So let's take a shot with the mining laser and see if we can do any damage. No, because we miss. Okay, and with that, we'll move on to the charge phase for the Genestealer Cult. So we'll charge in with the Acolytes, with the Rock Grinder. We'll also come around this side, we'll be charging in with the Aberrants. The squad of Acolytes into the immolator there to try and tie it up a little bit. And we'll try a long bomb charge to try and get onto this objective more than anything. And with that squad there. So starting with the Acolyte hybrids here, just with the 4, then the Rock Grinder, nope. The other squad of Acolytes into the immolator, they're in with an 8. The long bomb challenge from the neophytes, no. And so the Aberrants, yes, they make it into the Canoness and her Sacrosancts. Saving everybody time of watching me roll some dice, I rolled this off camera over here as the initial attack, and we only did 1 wound. A lot of hits, 1 wound, which it saved, so nothing doing there. So we'll move on to this combat down here, and the Acolytes going into the Sacrosancts. So that's 3 attacks each, hitting on 3s. Strength 4, toughness 3, so wounding on 3s. So 8 wounds come through at -1, so 3 up saves. Come on. I want to keep my CP. Okay, no, that's the squad. Miracle dice. Miracle dice. It's a 2. So the aberrants raise their weapons and strike into the sacrosancts, hitting on 3s. That would be winning on 2s. It's strength 7, toughness 3, but because a character's leading that unit, it's -1 to the wound roll, so it's back to 3s. Okay. So that's 8 4-up invulnerable saves. Each one killing a sacrosanct. Come on. Oh, we lose 3. So now the Abominant raises his power sledgehammer, hits on 3s. Oh, he misses twice. Strength 12 would be 2s. It's back to 3s. So his 2 wounds come through. Now, here comes the clutch part. I'm going to use 2 4s that I have in my pool to pass those. And that's my 2 miracle dice used this phase by that unit. Poof. So, leading the fight back, we're going to spend 2 CP. 1 on Faith and Fury, so we get the Lance ability, and then 1 on Divine Guidance, so we get an extra pip of AP on the attack, and everything is going back into those Abominants and those Aberrants. So let's see how the sisters fare. Can Genestealer Mireth get herself and her squad out of that mess that they found themselves in? So we'll start with one of the halberd that's left, hitting on 3s. And miss twice. Strength 5, toughness 6, so it would be 5s to wound, but it's back to 4s because of the lance. 1 wound goes through. Instead of -2, it's -3. So it doesn't get a save, but it's just 1 wound. So 1 wound is taken, but there's a 5-up feel no pain, which it passes. So nothing doing there so far. Spear of the Faithful, 3 hits. Again, 4s to wound. Strength 5, toughness 6, but with lance. So 1 wound again. -2 becomes -3, so it doesn't go through. This is 2, but it goes through automatically. This is 2 damage, which it feels 2 bits of pain. Okay. So Genestealer Mireth raises her power sword and misses twice. Jeez. Strength 4, toughness 6, but +1, back to 5s anyway. It will be 5s, back to 4s, sorry. 2 wounds come through, beautiful. -2, 2 damage, so the first one kills a model, we get a miracle dice. The second one puts 1 down to 2 wounds remaining. Okay, so let's get the miracle dice. It's a 3. So the only thing to fight back is Immolator with its armoured tracks. 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, 2 hits, wounding on 3s, 2 wounds. Brilliant. So that marks the end of Genestealer Cult turn 2. The sisters, I think, have got a fair amount of work to do. They're not out the game, they're not out of the battle yet. They still have the chance to protect this sector, to diffuse the explosives and quell the uprising. But a lot of things have got to fall into place. So let's see how the sisters do on their turn 3. So I get a miracle dice for the turn, which is a 6, and I need to pass leadership test with Genestealer Mireth, which I do, so I get another miracle dice, which is another 6. Just before we get into the movement phase, etc., or what we've done on the movement phase, both squads of the Battle Sisters were on objectives when the command phase started. So let's see if we get another miracle dice. We do. We get another 4, and we get a 5. We've got a growing pool. We need to make sure we go through them. Let's see what we can do. So at the end of the movement phase for the sisters in turn 3, it's a very, very critical turn. Let's see if we can turn the tide, because before long I think assets are going to run out for the sisters. So the Retributor Squadron Flamers disembarked and moved forward to try and seal off this objective if they can. The Immolator that they were in reversed up, and the Sacrosancts did their job as bodyguards and dragged the Canoness away and re-embarked upon the Immolator. The squad of Battle Sisters came through the wall and again tried to secure and hold up the Acolytes from getting onto the objective and starting to turn it. This Immolator stayed in combat, and this squad of Battle Sisters again moved themselves forward just to see if they can deal with or whittle down the Neophyte Hybrid squad. So with that, we'll move on to the sisters shooting phase. So we're going to start proceedings with this squad of Battle Sisters, and they're going to put everything into the Acolytes, but the Melter is going to attempt to deal with the Rock Grinder. So a fair number of shots coming in, including the Artificer Stormbolter. I know it's damage 2, but the weapon profile is the same apart from that, and these are only 1 wound Acolytes. So here we go, hitting on 3s. Strength 4, toughness 4, so wounding on 4s. It was a pretty woeful wound roll, has to be said. So 3 5-up saves. So only 1 dies. Okay. So I'm going to use the miracle dice here. So we're going to, on the melter gun, going into the rock grinder. So I'm going to use a 3. It came from the pool, and to hit. And it's going to use one of the 5s for the wound. Okay, so that's -4. She's smack bang in front of it, so there's no cover. So I roll for the damage. Come on, let's go for a big 6. Yes, there's 4 wounds remaining. So we make our way around to this Retributor squad, and I'm tempted to split fire, but I need to get rid of this squad in front of me. So what I'm going to do, yeah, I can't run the risk of rolling low, so everything from this squad's going to go into the Neophytes. So we'll start with a combi weapon on the Sister Superior. And she misses. Okay, right. So there's 4 heavy flamers in that squad. That'll do. So strength 6, toughness 3, so 2s to wound. So 18 6-up saves. Let's do this. We did it, but didn't quite work. So that unit's completely destroyed. Do we get to see it come back on a 5-up? No, it's gone. So the next part of the plan is for the Immolator to lay waste to the aberrants with its flamers and its heavy bolter, but put its hunter killer missile, which I don't believe I've fired yet, into the rock grinder to see if we can finish it off. So we'll start with the heavy bolters, hitting on 3s. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to use a miracle dice for one of the heavy flamers and roll for the other. Oh. So strength 6, toughness 6, so it's not higher strength, so it doesn't apply the -1 to wound, so force to wound. Okay, so 4 6-up saves. Makes none of them. Okay, so one's on 2 wounds, 5-up feel no pain, which has got 1 wound left, which is now dead, and the other one takes a wound. So the hunter killer into the rock grinder. Let's roll to see if it hits. Come on. Oh, it hits. And I use the miracle dice of a 4 for a wound. So a little bit of cover. So a 6-up becomes a 5-up, which it fails. I'm going to spend a CP just to be annoying, and it passes. So working our way around to the other side, we've got a flamer and then bolters. I'm going to put everything into the neophyte squad and try and whittle away and expose the primus. So D6 shots with the flamer for 5, okay. Strength 5, toughness 3, so 3 to wound. Okay. So 5-up saves. Ooh, she wipes out 4 of them on her own. And then the Artificer, Stormbolter and the Bolt Guns themselves. 3 to wound. 4 more 5-up saves. 4 more are gone. So working around to the last thing to fire really is the Immolator that's in combat, and it's going to put everything into those acolytes, just try and clear them out of the way. So in later turns it can hopefully try and pop the rock grinder. So the heavy bolters. Ooh. So sustained and sustained. Wounding on 3s. There's 3 wounds, there's only 3 models left. Oh. So 2 are smushed. 1 manages to dodge out of the way as the heavy bolter swings around. But now the multi-melters are going to go straight into his face. 1 hits. And it wounds. There is just no save. So that Acolyte Hybrid squad has gone. But do they come back? No, they don't. Ugh. Okay. So with the shooting phase done, we move on to the charge phase, and we're going to charge this squad of Battle Sisters into the Acolytes. We may regret it, we don't know, and we're going to charge this squad of Battle Sisters into the Neophytes and the Primus. So So we need a 4 for the squad that's here. With an 8, they can certainly get in their faces, should we say. We need a 6 for the other squad. Let's see if they can make it in. Just. So we'll start with the Battle Sisters going into the Primus' squad. It makes sense. Let's give it a go. So hitting on 4s. Strength 3, toughness 3, so wounding on 4s. 1 wound. Oh dear. Which it saves. They might regret this, you know. And then coming around to this squad here, again, hitting on 4s. So 2. Oh, that's better. Need that again because it's strength 3, toughness 4, so 5s to wound. 3 wounds this time. And only 1 falls. So we fight back with the Acolytes here into the Battle Sisters. So 9 attacks coming in, hitting on 3s. Okay. Strength 4, toughness 3, so wounding on 3s. So 3 wounds come through, 4 wounds come through. So 4 wounds at -1. So we lose 4 sisters in one go. Excellent. So fight back with the Primus. Starts with the Primus. It has 5 attacks to begin with this Cult Bone Sword, hitting on 2s. Strength 5, toughness 3, so 3s to wound. That is 4 wounds straight away, and it is -2, 1 damage. Oh, he takes out 3 straight away. He gets 2 extra attacks with his Twin Injector Claw, again hitting on 2s. And they're anti-infantry 2 up. So that's 2 more wounds, no AP, but D3 damage. And he kills another one. So there's 1 left out of that sister squad. Oh dear. So, as we round up the sisters turn 3, have they underestimated the enemy? Certainly on this flank, the Primus showed exactly what he's all about. His true colours came through and took out 4 out of the 5 sisters on his own. Let's just wrap up with these 2 striking out at her and see if we can clear this squad. So 2 attacks coming in, hitting on 4s, but because the Primus is leading them, they get to re-roll the hit roll. Okay. Okay. Strength 3, toughness 3, so 4s to wound. And it wounds, so if she fails this save, I do have a miracle dice, but the 6s, I'm not going to use those. Let's see. Oh. Okay, I want to try and hold them up if I can. I'm going to use a CP, the last CP I've got. Yes, okay, fine. So that wraps up turn 3 for the sisters, and in some respects, yeah, I think they have underestimated. Certainly these neophytes with the Primus that have taken down nearly that whole squad, and the Acolytes, which will get a chance to reincarnate, if you like, reanimation protocols, if you like, in their next turn. So, and they've already lost 4 out of that squad. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting times as we go on to Genestealer Cult turn 3. So we'll reanimate here. So that's back to a full squad again. Excellent. So at the end of the movement phase for the Genestealer Cult, the Jackal squad moved over to start putting pressure onto that objective. The rock grinder stays still. The aberrants and the abhorrent move towards lumbering after their prey that disappeared into the rhino, and the rock grinder moves shuffled forward, giving support to these acolytes having respawned. But however, it would be remiss of the sisters here with their flamers to not at least try to whittle down that jackal squad and not fire Overwatch. So that's what they're going to do. So they're back down to 0 CP, but there's 4 flamers in that squad. That's not bad. That's not bad. So that's 15 hits, 3 to wound. That's 11 6-up saves for the quad. That's that one gone. And then on to the jackal, Alphys itself. I suspect he's gone as well. So do they come back? Come on, please. At least one unit come back, please. Oh, nope. So starting with the incendiary cannon, the flamer on the rock grinder, I'm going to go into the sisters. Let's hope for a high roll. Okay. So 2s to wound. So 6 4-up saves. Okay. Another heavy stubber, hitting on 4s. I've seen better. Wounding on 3s. Ugh. And they save. We are, however, in range for a demolition charge. So let's hope again we roll high. That'll do. 2s to wound. -2 becomes -1 with cover. Okay. 1 dies. It is hazardous. Don't roll a 1, please. Okay, good. Okay. So we'll rinse and repeat everything over here into this immolator, and we just hope we don't blow up if we do the hazardous roll. So we'll start with the flamer, so for 2d6. Okay. There's 5s to wound. Okay. Okay. Heavy stubber. Okay. 2 wounds come through. But it's 5. And now demolition charges with 5 shots. 5s to wound. Nothing comes through. Okay, is it hazardous? No. Okay. With the acolytes having fallen back, allowing the rock grinder to actually shoot at the sisters, nothing they can do this turn, so we have to save this objective for turn 4 or 5. So with that being said, there's nothing much else to do because this squad of neophytes fell back. Nothing else much to do barring charge. So we'll charge the aberrants into the immolator and try and crack it open and try and get to the sisters inside. We're going to charge this rock grinder into this immolator as well. So the aberrants, they're in. The rock grinder is in. So spending a CP on tank shock as the rock grinder goes into the immolator. Let's see if we can whittle some more wounds off of it. And we do. 1, 2, 3, 4. It has 4 remaining. So we'll start with the rock grinder as it drills its dozer blade into the side of the immolator and tries to crack it open. So it gets 8 attacks. -1 to hit because it was down to 70 wounds. Force to wound now, strength 10 versus toughness 10. Going to spend a CP. No. Okay, 1 wound, -2. 2 damage, and it leaves the immolator with 2 wounds remaining. So coming round to the immolator, this uninjured immolator, the aberrants raise their weapons and strike on the armoured hull. 5s to wound, however. Oh, come on now. That's cocked. It does go through and causes 3 damage. Sorry, 2 damage on that one. So now the Abominant raises his weapons, his power sledgehammer, and hits on 3s. Hits every time. Wounds on 3s. Oh, come on now. Well, use a CP. Right, brilliant. So 2 wounds come through. It's -2. We make 1 and we fail 1. It's D6 +1. Let's look to roll high. Come on. Oof, very nearly. So 5 damage go through, leaving 4 remaining. So the immolator strikes back at the rock grinder and hits 3 times, -1. 5s to wound, no wounds predictably, and the same for the other immolator into the aberrants. Hits once, does a wound. Okay, and it's feeling pain, so no problem at all. So that marks the end of Genestealer Cult turn 3. A bit of staging for later turns, but let's see what, if anything, the sisters can do to secure this industrial landscape as we go on to sisters turn 4. At the end of the sisters movement phase, these everyone felt the battle shock, all of them, obviously barring this squad of retributors who didn't need to take one, but everyone else did fail theirs. The sisters, sacrosanct, and the canoness disembarked from the immolator, but the immolator stayed in combat, as did this other immolator here, and round this far flank, this brave sister, knowing it's a race to get to this objective, to either prime it or defuse it, makes her way back, chasing the neophyte squad, hoping to try and bring them down before they reach there and prime the explosive. So starting with the shooting phase, from the immolator into the rock grinder, let's see if we can take out the rock grinder with the melting metals. I'm going to use 2 miracle dice here from the pool. This is my pool so far, so I'm going to use, I need to free that immolator up because I've got a threat down the other side if that sister with the flamer can't do what she needs to do. So I'm going to use a 6 for the hit, and I'm going to use a 6 for the wound. With 2 wounds left on the rock grinder, it goes straight through. So the real question is, does it blow up and take the immolator with it? No. Moving across this immolator, firing into close combat, we'll start with the heavy bolters. And we get 2 hits. 5s to wound, yeah, no wounds. Now 2d6 for the number of flamers into the aberrant squad for 6. It's force to wound. That's 3 6-up saves. And 3 feel no pains. It feels a little bit of pain, but just tickles her wound off. So needing to get a good amount of flamer hits, I'm going to flame into the Satellite squad. So I'm going to use my last remaining 6 and then roll 3 more. That's not bad. Okay, so 3 to wound. So here come 18 6-up saves. You ready? That isn't that. Okay, that's the squad. Now, did this one come back? Come on, just come back. Yes. And now working our way around to this sister. Can she take out the squad in front of her? Let's see. Okay, D6 the number of shots. Oh, it's looking good. 3s to wound. Okay. So she can't kill the Primus. So 1 neophyte survives. 1's dead. Another neophyte survives. And now it's dead, leaving just the Primus. Does, however, this unit come back? Come on, come on. Yes, it does. So that marks the end of the shooting phase, and we go into the charge phase. And there's only really going to be one, I think, which is going to be the Canoness into the Canoness's squad into the Aberrants. She either dies now or she dies later. Yeah, let's charge her in. See if we can at least plink a wound and let the Primus know that we're here. Okay, so the Canoness, her squad moves 8, and the sister, doing it by herself, moves 7. So the sister with the halberd raises it and strikes out at the Aberrants and hits 3 times. It's 5 to wound. 2 wounds come through. At -2, there's no save for the Aberrants, but it's only a single damage weapon, and it kills that Aberrant on 1 wound. Sister Superior raises her Spear of the Faithful and hits 3 times. Fails to wound. Canoness gives reroll attack rolls of 1, not wound rolls of 1, which would have been useful here. She raises her power weapon, strikes out, and misses once. 5s to wound. No wounds come through. Oh, oh dear. Oh dear. The lone sister bravely charges towards the Primus, strikes out with her fists, and misses. Oh dear. So we'll start with the Primus, who raises his bone sword and hits all the times. And wounds all the times. And it's a very, very good effort. But one goes through, strikes the sister down. For which I get a miracle dice. It's a 2. So the 2 Aberrants that are left are going to strike out at the sister squad, and then if they're cleared, the Abominant is going to strike out at the Immolator. Okay, they miss 3 times. 2s to wound, however. and they wound twice. So -2, so 4 up invulnerable saves. Kills the Sister Sacrosanct, kills the Sister Superior. Wanting to clear this immolator out of the way, the Abominant strikes out with his power sledgehammer and hits 3 times. Wounding on 3s. He wounds 3 times. I've got no miracle dice to save me here, so 3 5 up saves. Not a single one. Okay, it is d6 +1 on each one, so a grand total of 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 wounds. I would have been able to kill it in 1 round. Does she explode? No. So that marks the end of the Sisters' turn, and whilst they've managed to get rid of the Abominants, they are now really down to leaving themselves to a point where can any more further explosives be primed by the Genestealer Cult, and will the Sisters have enough time left to dearm them should they be successful? Let's have a look at Genestealer Cult, turn 4. So at the end of the Genestealer Cult movement phase, the Goliath Rock Grinder came through into the building and is hoping to make short work of those Sisters. The the Abominant stayed still, glaring down at the Canoness, and will probably make a charge later on. Around this side, the Primus made his way onto the objective and started to prime it. And so with that, we'll move on to the shooting phase, which is going to be short and sweet because it's just the Rock Grinder, but deliberated. Do I spend a CP to overwatch from the Sisters to try and get through 4 wounds? Yeah, why not? It's a long shot, but you never know. So 4d6 shots. Okay. It's going to be 5s to wound. Is there enough? Is there enough? Okay, 4 wounds left. It's -1. So 4 4-ups. I think I can do it. I think it should stay alive. It takes a wound, it's down to 3. So moving straight on to the Rock Grinder, it fires its Heavy Flamer for 7 shots. It wounds 6 4-up saves. Do you know what? It's a good effort, and it's left 1 alive. Heavy Stubbers come in. Oh dear. And 3s to wound. Wounds twice. There's no AP. Can this Sister stay alive? Well, we're going to use a miracle dice. We have a 3 in the pool, so we've got 1 more to roll. Oh, no, she dies. So what miracle dice do I get? Oh, a 6. So moving on to the charge phase, there's only one thing to do, which is charge the Abominant into the Canoness. And he's well in. So as the Canoness activates her 2-up invulnerable save, which she gets once per battle, the Abominant strikes out. Oh, he misses 3 times. Wounds on a 2. Definitely wounds. Right, 2-up invulnerable save. Don't fail this. In fact, miracle dice. Yes. So, the Canoness strikes back. Whew. Okay. She hits all the times. She wounds once. And he passes. He has 5-up invulnerable save. Excellent. So that marks the end of Genestealer Cult Turn 4, and now they have 2 primed explosives. Ongoing combat between the Canoness and the Abominant as they trade blows in the centre of the battle grid. What can the sisters now do? It is their final time for action. Can they prevent any further explosives being primed? Let's see what they do in Sisters Turn 5. And at the end of the Sisters movement phase, the Retributors came round. A squad of Atalan Jackals appeared from Cult Ambush in front of them. The Canoness stayed in combat. The Immolator moved up and is diffusing this objective, and the squad of Acolytes made their way out of Cult Ambush, heading towards this objective to support their Primus. So spending a CP on the grenade strat, this is pretty much going to be a clutch move, I think. If it comes off, great. If it doesn't, then I think it's possibly going to spell doom for the Imperium. So the grenade strat, you're going to fire some grenades into the rock grinder and then fire the flamers into the jackals. So, grenades. It's not enough. 4d6 flamers into the jackals. So 20 strength 6 flamer shots coming into the jackals. Okay, so -1, so 16 6-up saves to make. There's 12 wounds in that squad. It literally is the exact amount required to take the squad out. So 1 bike, 2 bike, 3 bikes, 4 bikes, and the quad bike. Do they come back? No, not this time. So Defender's fighting first, and she's used her ability as the Abominant raises his power sledgehammer and hits twice. We'll re-roll one of those. Hits 3 times. Wounds twice. It's 2 4-up invulnerable saves. I'll use a miracle dice. She fails the other one. D6 +1 wounds. 3 wounds. Battered and bruised, but never given in to the light of the God Emperor. She strikes out. She hits all the times. She wounds 3 times. Oh, and he fails 2 of the wounds. So that marks the end of the sisters' turn. The Canoness and the Abominant are slugging it out still, both battered, both bruised, both on the cusp of life, but they'll carry on. This objective is currently safe. This objective has currently been diffused, but we have a primed objective over here by the Primus. And we have 1 objective left. So let's see what the Genestealer Cult can do in their turn 5. So at the end of the Genestealer Cult movement phase, the Acolytes have moved up and joined their Primus and guarding the primed objective, ready for it to explode and sink back into the shadows. The Abominant and the Canoness are still fighting. And over here, the driver jumps out of the cab, even if it's to sacrifice himself, and primes this objective. There's no shooting to do. There's nothing else apart from to resolve this ongoing combat between Genestealer Mireth and the Abominant. So as defenders fight first, Genestealer raises her blade, screams defiantly in the Abominant's face, and hits all of the times. She wounds once. Will it be enough to strike him down? It is. But as the Genestealer turns, she hears the thud of the sledgehammer as the Abominant rises once again. And that is how this story will end. The attacker, in this case the Genestealer Cult, scored 20 victory points for each primed explosive. There's one down here and there's one over there. The defenders will score 15 victory points for each unprimed explosive. There's one here and one here. So on this day, the sisters, they gave everything. They sacrificed themselves to the light of the God Emperor in an effort to save this imperial settlement and this imperial industrial sector. But the uprising by the Primus proved just too much. And that's how this story ends. I hope you enjoyed it as we go on to the next mission for the Black Watch.